Biכורים, Parak Beis, Mishnah. Until now, we've been talking about Truma, we've been talking about Masasheni, and we've been talking about Biכורים. Now the Mishnah is going to introduce to us something called Trumas Maisa. Trumas Maisa is that portion of the Maisa Rishon that was given to the Levi, that the Levi has to separate and give to the Kohen. When the farmer comes into his field, the first thing he separates is Truma, which he gives to the Kohen. Then he separates 10% of whatever is left, which is called the Maisa Rishon, and gives that to the Levi. And the Levi himself has to separate 10% of his Maisa Rishon and give that to the Kohen as Trumas Maisa. The Mishnah tells us, Trumas Maisa shover la Biכורים b'shtei derachim. Trumas Maisa is similar to Biכורים in two specific ways. V'la Truma b'shtei derachim. And it's similar to Truma in two specific ways. The first one is, Niteles min hatohoi al hatomi. This is one of the ways where it's similar to Biכורים. And it's talking about that we are allowed to separate Trumas Maisa from what is tohoi on behalf of produce which is tomei. This is unlike the case of Truma. If you have Truma which is tohoi and Truma which is tomei, you are not allowed to separate the tohoi produce on behalf of the tomei produce. Why not? Because there is a halacha which we learn in the first parak of Chala. Yerushalmi brings it down from a pasuk that when it comes to Truma, there is a halacha that says that it must be separated min ha-mukaf, from that which is in close proximity to the produce to which it relates. Now we are scared that if we allow somebody to separate Truma from what is tohoi on behalf of what is tomei, the person may be scared to put the two produces too close together in case the tomei one is matama the tohoi one. Therefore he won't be Makai in the midst of doing it min ha-mukaf. As a result of that, Chazal have said that Truma cannot be separated from what is tohoi on behalf of what is tomei. This does not apply, however, to Trumas Maisa. In that respect, Trumas Maisa is the same as Biכורים, and it can be separated from what is tohoi on behalf of what is tomei, because there's no halacha of mukaf with regard to Trumas Maisa or with regard to Biכורים. The next halacha is v'sheloi min ha-mukaf ka Biכורים. And indeed, as we've mentioned, there is no halacha by Trumas Maisa or by Biכורים that it should be separated from produce which is in close proximity to the produce for which it relates. The Mishnah goes on and tells us, V'oiseres es ha-goyren. The lack of separating Trumas Maisa will forbid grain from the threshing floor, which means, as we've mentioned previously, if one has grain which is in its completed process, it's already piled up and it's been smooth and it's chai for Trumas Maisa, the lack of separation of Trumas Maisa will asa that produce, it will forbid that produce from consumption. This is unlike the case of Biכורים. Biכורים is mutter even if it hasn't been separated. V'yesh lo shir ka Truma, says the Mishnah. And there is a specific shear, there's a specific measure for the amount of Trumas Maisa a person has to take. Trumas Maisa, we learnt, is 10% of the Maisa Rishon that the Levi has received, which is not the case of Biכורים. When it comes to Biכורים, there is no specific measure. There is a specific measure of Truma, which, as we mentioned previously, is a 40th or 50th of a 60th or a 60th, and in that respect, Trumas Maisa is the same as Truma, but different from Biכורים. V'ad kan, Mishnah.